start with. The first one, I figure we'll just do the beginning part of Katherine Knight because we lost all that footage. And then next week is 4 short stories, 1 that has a complete ending, 3 that don't have a complete ending, but they're all urban legends. And I figured after we release that, people can vote on which of the 3 they want to hear the next ending of, right? A little force people into engaging with us. All right, so I will start with Katherine Knight. Ooh, back to the doozy. Pardon me as I actually have, like I get to actually, like, use my computer for once on this, it's pretty exciting for me. Alright, you can still see me without this, right? I haven't used Discord in years. Alright, perfect. Alright, so, The Case of Katherine Knight, which, I, of course, because 'cause I'm so funny, have coined, "Dinner Served." Katherine Knight is a bit, difficult to learn about if you don't know where you're looking. She is from New Zealand. Or not New Zealand, Australia. Very different. They sound the same in my brain, but they're very different continents, and they will get very mad at you if you call them the same thing. Um, when the crime was committed, newspapers found it too gruesome to release the details of for fear that it would harm the public to learn about. Background information about her. So, Catherine Mary Knight was born October 24th of 1955 in Australia. She had a horrible childhood. There's a trigger warning of SA, sadism, and harm to a minor, and other disturbing details. She was raised in an extremely dysfunctional family environment. Her mother, Barbara, married Jack Rohan, who was a pig farmer. If you notice, the last names are different. Um, they lived in a small town of Aberdeen in New South Wales, Hunter Valley. So it's a very, very tiny town. They don't really have much going on for them. Like, they got pig butchering, but that's really kind of it. Um, and a lot of nothing.
Aberdeen.
Yeah, Aberdeen. I feel like it's just full of spiders and sadness.
It fits.
Yeah, right. That's so mean to them, I bet. Um, so this town had only about 200 people, and of course was known for the slaughter industry, like I mentioned. This reminded me of Sharp Objects, which I have told you to watch. I've now told you 3 times to watch.
You
Have you
have.
watched it?
I have not.
Mother would be so disappointed in you.
I forgot every time.
It's okay, I'll make you watch it with me. I also tried to get Nana to watch it, and she's like, "Oh, I've already seen it." I'm talking to her, and she's has no clue about what I'm referring to. I'm like, "I don't think you've seen it." Watch Sharp Objects, please. I need people to know my references.
Oh my god.
Um, her mother had 4 sons with Jack Rohan before Barbara had an affair with one of her husband's coworkers and friends named Kenneth Charles Knight. That's where the Knight comes in. Saying she started cheating on her husband because of his drinking and gambling problems. After the affair became public, due to the town being like 200 people, and as you said last time, you can't get away with dating your husband's friend and coworker. There's 200 people in this town.
They face backlash because there's like fucking no people.
There's
around
nobody
them.
there, so of course they'd be like,
What a place to be an adulterer.
yeah.
I mean, like
You got confidence.
I mean, like if any place like that's 200 people, like you're not hiding from anybody. Jim saw you Tuesday, like and then he saw you again Wednesday. You were with a different dude, and you're with a dude that he knows.
Your
Everybody
husband's
knows.
been gone gambling and drinking for days, and now you're pregnant?
Peculiar. You guys have the same last name now. I only know one Knight in this town. Suddenly there's 2. What do you mean? What do you mean?
You blink, and there's another person that you definitely know that's definitely fucking each other or their family. Like, that's it.
It's like, and they weren't sneaky about it. They were very obvious. I don't know what they thought they were gonna get away with. Yeah, they were dumb. So after the affair became public, they had to move away because they faced a lot of backlash, and they quickly moved to the moors. leaving Barbara's 4 sons with her husband, who, of course, she just left with this man who had such drinking and gambling problems that she had to cheat on him with. So he's a great parent figure for her kids. She did not contact her sons after, but with a little digging, I did find out that Jack, her husband, raised, or 2 of the oldest boys, he kept them because they were like old enough to kind of live on their own. They didn't really need anything. And then the 2 youngest little babies got sent to an aunt, and we never hear about them after that. So I assume they're okay or dead.
Easy assumptions on both ends.
I mean, they're either fine and like completely normal people, or they died like instantaneously. Like those are our only options here, right?
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. With the cases that we have learned thus far, I just. You know, if this was the original recording of this, I would be almost optimistic. But here's the thing. Now I know, and I know the other cases, I feel like this podcast is ruining my outlook. It's making it a little dark.
That's why we're gonna do some urban legends after this. It's gonna be real easy, real smooth sailing.
Friends.
Kind of. Kind of.
Okay. Proceed.
I'm so excited. All right. Okay, so she, of course, the reason why the affair got out is that Catherine, Barbara got pregnant with Catherine. Um, they didn't handle it well at all. So she left her 4 boys with her husband, and then she proceeded to have 4 additional children with Ken. First of those would be twin girls, and that would be Katherine Knight and her sister. They're brand new babies, so they're all like clean and happy and pure, and then you just fuck them up.
Gelatinous.
Yeah, they're a gelatinous cube. Just gelatinous cubes. They don't even have like, what is it? Oh, they don't have a.
Kneecaps?
Yep, they don't have kneecaps. Their head's not fused together yet. They have too many bones. Anyway.
I wish I had a helmet when I was a baby.
What?
I wish I had a helmet when I was a baby. You know how babies get helmets?
I mean, only if their head's all misshapen.
Yeah. Helmets are cute though.
I'm gonna move on.
Cute.
No, they're not. They're not cute. Not at all. They're just.
I bet they smell bad.
I don't know. I don't think babies sweat. I have no like actual information for that. I just don't feel like they sweat. Like why would they be sweating? They're not doing anything.
I think they can get like topic now, but fuck it. I think they can get like yeast infections in their rolls as babies, so I think that would mean that they sweat. I don't know though.
That's because the milk. It's the milk. It does the neck cheese. I was a very fat baby.
Me too.
My parents have talked about how they had to like peel my neck rolls apart to clean out the neck cheese.
And shove baby powder in there just.
Yeah, you gotta, because otherwise, like, there's things going on. I mean, okay, so my thighs don't have a gap. They've always touched since like the beginning of time. I don't want a skin to skin rub on my neck. That hurts so bad.
Imagine how bad that is, though.
I don't want to imagine that. That sounds terrible.
And this is where I got this line right here.
I have one too. It goes yoink. All right, back on topic. Okay, so remember how we said Barbara left her first husband because he was gambling, he was an alcoholic. Ken is like 1,000 times worse. So he was also an alcoholic. He also gambled. He was also violent and like openly violent. So trigger warning. He was violent to not only Barbara but to the children. He would often beat and intimidate Barbara, the mother, in front of the kids. They would often see their mom walking around with black eyes and fading bruises, all at different levels of healing. Eventually, the children grew comfortable with it because it's their only life. That's all they know. And this is when Ken began sexually assaulting Barbara in front of the kids up to 10 times a day. I don't know how this man has time to do it 10 times a day, but he found a way.
That's so disgusting.
Yeah. He's a really bad person. Um Fuck him. He's dead, so it's fine now.
That is
I'm
that is
sure he's
great
getting
for
his
him.
own. Yeah, I'm sure he's getting his own. Maybe Catherine, like, in some twisted way, gets to, like, hurt him now. Anyway. So Barbara, who has to deal with this man who's sexually assaulting her and beating her, constantly tells her children how much she hates men and how they shouldn't like men at all, that they're not safe, they're not good people. Catherine grew up and one time complained to her mother about a boyfriend she had, because although her mom hates men, she also feels that women aren't worth anything better. So Catherine had told her mom that her boyfriend wanted her to take part in a sex act that she didn't want to perform, and her mother replied to her, quote, "Put up with it and stop fucking complaining," end quote.
Grade A mothering.
She's real classy lady, real good at what she's doing. Catherine states to a psychiatrist later in her life that she was repeatedly sexually assaulted by her half brothers, who moved in with them as soon as their father died. So their father dies probably when Catherine's around 9 to 10 years old, and then her two older brothers, who are basically adults, move in with their mom and immediately start sexually assaulting Catherine and Joy. Apart from her twin sister, Catherine was only close to one other relative. That would be her uncle Oscar Knight. He was a champion horseman, which is a equestrian for Americans, because he was real short and tiny. I don't know why.
That's where
Weird. We're not in person, so I don't know what to do with my hands currently. So I'm doing a lot of.
I know. I'm just holding mine together.
Yeah, my computer's balanced on my bed, so you'll see it move. Back to it. All right, we got so many stories tonight. In 1969, when Catherine was 14 years old, her uncle committed suicide, but Catherine continued to state that his ghost visited her because her mind is broken, because she's a child of so much trauma. During this time, her family moved back from Moors to Aberdeen, so where her parents are constantly being told, like, oh, you're the guys who cheated on her husband and then hooked up and then moved because you got pregnant and your kids are terrible people. Great place to be. Catherine and Joy were known for being bullies. They were very big women. They were very tall and very muscular, and would be known to tower over people. They also really enjoyed fighting. Catherine is known for assaulting many of her male and female classmates, and even assaulting teachers. Around town, she was known to have these dark mood swings where she could get very, very scary. Like, she would kill animals scary, and then she would completely switch the next day and be so sweet and so caring. This is later explained because she's diagnosed with BPD, bipolar disorder, and also a personality. It's believed that she has a personality disorder by the end of this, which explains why she's constantly going from one way to another. It's just because she can't control her emotions, and no one's teaching her a proper way to function. Catherine would later drop out of school. When she's about 15 to 16, I've seen it written both ways. This is fairly early into her childhood. She actually at this time was considered illiterate and could not read or write correctly. And we see this later on in her life when she has letters written that are shown in court. She can't read or write. This is also not uncommon for this town, as many children would go to school just as long as they had to and then would drop out as soon as possible to start working in the slaughterhouse. So when Catherine's 15 to 16, she starts her first audition for the slaughterhouse. And I guess for some reason, they call it additions for the slaughterhouse. I don't really know why. It just means that she applies to work there. That's all it basically is. So she auditions for the slaughterhouse and is immediately denied. They're like, "You're way too weird about this. Why don't
You
you
like this too
blend it?"
much. Why are you so into it? Like,
Yeah. I can only imagine like they looked in her eyes and you're like, "You're dead inside," and it's a little scary.
yeah, we can't grow a murderer in here.
Yeah. Well, the next year, when she auditions, she gets the job.
Funny you say that because
Yeah. She applies for her dream job, um, in the slaughterhouse, and in 1974, when she was 18 years old, she officially got promoted to it. So she worked in what's called the offal room. So you know it's a great place to work. It's called the offal room because this is the place where you would gut pigs in order to take out their entrails and internal organs, to be used as animal food. Either someone would bring the pig or you would get the pig yourself. The pig's throat would be slashed. You would gut them in scream style. You start from the pelvis, you cut all the way up to the sternum, open them up, and then you basically take your hands, or most of the time a sharp object, but I've seen people do it with their hands also after they've already cut things, put it all the way to the back and scrape down. Get all that guts out.
that was a
Scoop all
great
out.
job at visualizing that.
Thank you. Yes. Look, I got free time. I don't know how that explains it, but it does. So she really enjoyed the offer room. It's also an enclosed room because it's so terrible that most people don't want to look at it and don't want to see it. And she just loved the fact that she was in an enclosed place where she could gut an animal. Slowly but surely, she started working her way towards the front of the slaughterhouse, where she would just like leave the offer room for a little bit and watch people kill these pigs. And a lot of people originally thought she did this to learn how to be better at the job and how to get promoted. Um, Soon, people start to put together that she just enjoyed watching death.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. Um, and eventually, she did get promoted and was able to basically take one pig from the start of the slaughterhouse to the very end. She would get a pig and slice the throat, cut it open, scrape it out, move on, get a new pig, instead of having people bring them to her.
You would have
So
loved
there's
the Saw films.
yeah, yeah, it's a lot. Weirdly enough, Saw films are like the ones that like really push me over the edge. Saw and Art the Clown freak me out. I'm not great with gore porn. It really freaks me out.
It's like that's such a spectrum though of art and Saw. It's an
Yeah.
interesting spectrum. You have both ends. I understand it, but like it's an interesting spectrum for sure.
Cause like okay, so like art is way more entertaining to me than Saw is. Cause Saw is very like, oh, I think you did something bad. Now you get murdered. Blah 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 blah.
Mhm.
And Art
Mhm.
the Clown is like this magical being of destruction and death. Like I thought he was a person for a little bit, and you're like, no, you're not a person by the end of it. But I also refuse to watch Human Centipede. And I feel like that's very close to like
Th-
Art.
that's just not a film. The Human Centipede is like not a film. That's like a 90s like terrible. That's not even yeah, but it's like Sharknado. Like it's giving Sharknado. Like it's not the same genre, but it's the same like this is a shitty movie and it's this generation's shitty movie. It's like Two Girls, One Cup. It's the Human Centipede. Like
Speaking
the
of Sharknado, I know you haven't watched this yet, but I highly
oh
recommend watch Sharkvalanche.
no.
It's about a mountain ski resort where Native American burial grounds happen to be, and one of them gets destroyed a little bit, and then they released sharks built out of snow who kill the skiers. It's one of the greatest movies you could ever watch. It's called Sharkvalanche. Highly recommend. I recommend that and my favorite horror movie from the 1970s called with like 90 S's. It's about a man who transforms into a snake. It's terrible.
You should watch Rubber.
No.
It's about a sentient tire.
I will watch Rubber now. Thank you. I will be watching that tonight.
And so after I said it, that sounds like a movie about a condom.
That's what I thought at first.
Nope, it's about a sentient tire.
I'll watch Rubber once I finish the New Moon. Yep. Just, you know, I gotta...
Like you're not gonna watch the whole series again.
Little movies.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, back to the awfulness. We're never
The
gonna
light.
get anywhere in this.
No, we're not.
There's a very specific way you're supposed to slaughter pigs. You were supposed to take your knife, start at the side of the throat, up towards where the ears are, go very quickly all the way around the throat. It basically cuts through all of their blood vessels, it cuts the arteries, it cuts the vocal box, so they can't make any noise, and they bleed out quickly. When you cut an artery, it takes like seconds to die. Katherine didn't do that. She enjoyed watching things slowly die, and really likes to prolong it. So she would basically take small nicks all around the throat until the pig would slowly bleed to death and would scream and gasp for air as its airways would now be filled with blood. So, horrible.
Horrible.
Catherine would then take the pig and would move it to the butchering station where she would start deboning it. And that's the process of removing the bones so you can collect the meat. Because of this, she was promoted also again. And she was promoted to the boning butcher, which is the person who basically all they do is take the bones out of the meat, put them to the side. And with that, she got her own set of butcher knives that she would prominently display over her bed in her home.
Isn't a red flag for anybody.
No.
Like, no one saw that as a red flag. Who's doing that normally?
Everyone has knives over their bed.
Yeah.
But I took mine down to be polished, obviously.
Yes. You gotta take care of them. Yeah, you can't display gross knives.
I earned those. I butchered a lot of pigs.
Proceed.
She was quoted as saying she kept them over her bed so she, quote, always had access to them if she needed them. She was obsessed with knives. She loved using them for anything and everything. I believe she has a form of picarism. So we've discussed picarism a little bit. Some other people who have picarism is Albert Fish, who lives in my nightmares and feeds off of my soul. Like he's one of the few cases who lives in my brain and will never leave. It's him and the Toy Box Killer really screwed me up when I was probably around 16 finding their cases. Not a good time to look at the internet. My brain was still moldable. My brain is still moldable, but it was more moldable then.
Still moldable, but it was way more moldable then. Like
Yeah, it was so squishy.
shmush.
Like that. Perfect. So I don't know if we'll ever get to Albert Fish or the Toy Box Killer. We'll probably have to, because they're impressive cases that people should know more about, because they're terrible men and I hope they rot. But
Oh, so they're not dead yet.
no, I believe they are dead, but I think they should rot more. I want them to have to suffer longer. I don't know. We'll get there
I
someday.
like it. I like it.
So picarism is an attraction to knives, specifically piercing or cutting the skin, and it could be of yourself or others. I believe she had the form of picarism where she was attracted to others being pierced or pricked or cut with knives. She was also known around town for her size. She was sturdy, as we said. There's a lot of quotes of people referring to her as having masculine hands. She's just a tough lady, and I wish she was a better person with it. So now we're going to move on to her marriages and relationships. Somehow, even though we've talked off topic more, we've gone through this so much faster than last time. So, as you know,
Crazy, actually.
I'm impressed with us and also horrified by what the fuck were we doing last time. As you know, and our viewers will see now, she's not pretty. Like, she's not a gorgeous woman. And for being such a terrible person, you would think people are not interested in it, but I have seen multiple cases, and currently, boys will just date people because they don't feel like they deserve better, and that's sad. I shouldn't say boys, men also. Just all humans don't think they deserve better and will date shitty people who don't look cute.
Yeah, people settle. It's not even just for like physical attraction. People will just settle for anything shitty.
They just think that they don't deserve better, and it's sad. All of these men, I think at the beginning deserve better, and some of them by the end, I'm like, you
Questionable.
should have gone what you got, but you're not good.
No.
Yeah. Um, so as I mentioned before, she had her bright points and her dark points. I think these bright points are really what got people hooked on her, and then of course she would keep them and control them through sex. I think if she wasn't horribly traumatized in her relationships in her adult life, she probably would have been able to handle her BPD a little bit better,
Mm-hmm.
but she still probably would have had crazy mood swings. I just don't think she would have hurt anyone.
Yeah, if she was in 2025, it would be
Yeah.
vastly
She would have
different.
been medicated. She would have been fine. She's medicated currently. She's still alive. Yeah. It's not that long ago. It's really weird. So I'm going to explain a little bit about BPD so people who don't know about it can understand. People with bipolar disorder don't have homicidal tendencies. It's not common. I think it's truly her trauma that gave her homicidal tendencies, and I think something's broken in her long before she was born. Borderline personality disorder is a mental health condition characterized by intense, unstable emotions, impulsive behaviors, fear of abandonment, that one's key, it comes back later, um, difficulty maintaining relationships, and a chronic feeling of emptiness. All of these things don't lead anyone to kill, and no one with BPD should be blamed for murders. At most, they have a harder time.
So while it's not the causation, it's definitely
It is a
present in the factors. Yep.
Yeah, it is a huge factor in why she hurts people because she feels so intensely, has this chronic feeling of emptiness, and is so afraid of relationships ending and not good at maintaining them. It's a perfect storm. So her first relationship we're going to get into is David Stratford Kellett. They met in 1973. David was known as a drinker who wasn't opposed to fighting anyone, especially when he was inebriated, but overall he was seen as a good person. The two of them fell quickly for each other. Catherine dominated over him, and they would often fight together. If David got into a fist fight, Catherine was known to step in and fight alongside him or fight him herself. Like she didn't care what side she was on. She just wants to throw a punch. Um, she was also known for beating people until they were on the brink of death. So in bars, she would just fight people until they couldn't get up anymore. Um, And then in 1974, she decided that they were going to get married when they were both 18.
Love that.
Yeah. This wasn't because they both wanted to be married. This was during one of their lunch breaks. Catherine turned to David and basically told him, "We're getting married today." Fun.
Yeah, because that's how it works.
Into it. On their wedding day, he's blacked out drunk. Like, he is, like, shit-faced entirely. She forces him on the back of her motorcycle. They drive up to the chapel, and they get married. And he has no recollection of it. Like, in newspapers later on, he's like, "I know we're married. I don't remember getting married. I don't remember anything about it." So it's like some pretty Vegas.
No
Pretty Vegas.
response from anybody. No, that's just fine. That's just
I'm
fine.
just surprised they would like willingly let you get married when you were obviously so drunk that you can't stand. On the wedding night, Barbara, Catherine's mom, gave David some advice. Quote, "The old girl," that's Katherine Knight, because this is David saying about her, said to me, "Watch out," quote, "You better watch out for this one. She'll fucking kill you. Stir her the wrong way or do the wrong thing and you're fucked. Don't ever think I'm playing on her," which means cheating on her. "She'll fucking kill you." And that's what her mother was talking about. She told me she's got something loose. She's got screws loose somewhere. What a great sign of the person you've just married.
I'm like the one who made her, and I'm just gonna let you know that I'm fucking scared of her, and you should be too.
I mean, they should be very afraid of her. So on their wedding night, David woke up to Catherine punching him in the face repeatedly, because she was mad. Why, you might ask? Because he fell asleep after only having intercourse with her 3 times. And she knew that her parents had intercourse on their wedding night 5 times. and she wanted to make sure that they had at least intercourse up to 5 times, if not more. Why did
Love
she know
that.
that?
I love that
Why
that's
would she know that?
ingrained. I love that that's ingrained.
That's not a thing you should know. No. Gross.
Disgusting.
Yeah. So that's a great way to start your relationship, is just being punched in the face repeatedly. Um, I I don't know what this man's version of okay is, but he continued to go on with her and live with her and stay with her and even have a child together. So Catherine eventually stands her husband up, hits him in the back of the head with a frying pan. He says that he's fine, and then immediately gets her pregnant. Um,
The
when she's pregnant,
juxtaposition is crazy.
yeah, I'm honestly not convinced that he was awake for it.
No, probably
I'm
not.
convinced that she raped him.
Yeah, she
He never
took
says
advantage
it.
to marry like him, so
He never says that he raped her or that she raped him, sorry. And he never claims he claims later on that she was a great wife. And I truly think that his brain has like blocked out. There's no way that you got hit in the head with a frying pan by this giant woman and was not incapacitated.
no, that's suppressed memories right there. That's your body like protecting your mind.
One time when Catherine was heavily pregnant, she lit all of David's clothes and shoes on fire and then hit him in the back of the head with a frying pan again. She really likes her frying pans. She did this because he arrived home late from while reaching the finals in a dart competition in a local pub. So he was playing darts. He made it to the finals. The pub closed, and she called him, and he was like, "Hey, the pub's closed. Like, you better be home." And he's like, "Oh, I'm actually almost done. Like, I'll be done in a little bit." And she told him, "No, you better be home." And he didn't instantly go. So she beat the shit out of him and set all their things on fire. Stable.
Extremely. You wouldn't do
Yeah.
that? It's like a normal thing people do, don't you know?
Obviously, it's very normal. Super normal. He was terrified of her and was convinced that she was going to kill him, but somehow managed to stagger to a neighbor's house, who called an ambulance for him. When he got to the hospital, he was diagnosed with a very large skull fracture that should have killed him. Police wanted to charge Catherine with attempted murder, but with some of her manic behavior, she was able to go back to being sweet and convince David to drop all the charges. Yeah. So when David got back home, Catherine started to hang the knives over their own bed, and he still stayed with her with the skull fracture, the knives, and the beatings.
He was
He
terrified.
had just like at that point broken his brain.
Yeah, he was terrified.
One morning, he woke up to Catherine straddling him, holding one of those knives at his throat, grazing it. She then laughed and said how easy it would be to kill him. David never rose a finger to her, not even in self defense. He would just walk away instead of fighting. Now, in May of 1976, shortly after the birth of their first kid, um, I think her name's Melissa. I could be a little bit wrong. I seen it. I've seen Melissa. I've seen Katie, and I've seen redacted for child's protection.
Mm.
So I'm not sure if Melissa or Katie is like a fake name used by newspapers to basically like cover up the kid's name during this time.
Mhm.
Um, but for the sake of the story, we're gonna go with Melissa. So after they've had their first kid, David actually leaves and abandons his wife and his first child to move with his mistress to Queensland. And as you remember, Catherine has a fear of abandonment and has a hard time maintaining relationships, so she goes insane. She goes entirely insane. Um, she had threatened to slice up their newborn baby and was caught constantly swinging her child by the ankles. The next day, after he had left, she was seen pushing the pram, holding the baby down the street, violently swinging it from side to side and smashing it into poles and fences. She was then institutionalized. I know that
That's
you're
so
disappointed because you know where
disgusting.
this is going.
I do. I do.
I'm so sorry. So she was institutionalized for violent behavior, and to prevent her from having a chance to kill her child. She was immediately allowed to sign herself out within the next day. So she was
That's
there for
so
an-
insane. And so
That was-
honestly negligent.
It's entirely, and it was St. Elmo's Hospital in Tamsworth that she was allowed to sign herself out of.
Not very Elmo of them.
Yeah. After being released, she went and placed her 2-month-old baby Melissa on some active train tracks. She knew that the train was going to be coming by soon. She then grabbed an axe and went into the town that was nearby and swung the axe side to side, trying to hit as many people as possible. There's no account of her actually hitting anyone, but she was going for it.
Mm-hmm.
So people were running around trying to get away from her. Luckily for Melissa, a man around town known as Old Ted was looking for some food around the train tracks when he saw the baby and rescued her only a few short minutes before the train came by. So Old Tim did great. He should have kept the baby.
Oh, Tim.
Yeah. So since she's swinging her axe around, people call the police on her, and the police come and pick her up, and then put her back into St. Elmo's. But she signed herself out the next day again and was given back her child.
How does she sign herself out when it's happened twice now? That's just crazy.
I don't know. It's what is it? The 50s, 70s? Oh, it's 1976 currently, so it's the 70s.
It's the 70s of it all.
Yeah. So she gets her child back instantly. A few days later, she was living with her parents again, which is a great news. You know, her abusive father and her crazy mom. She told them she needed to pick up a few things from her house and then took her baby and went back to the house. I don't know why they allowed her to go back to the house. She picked up her knives, some scissors, bandages, and then left to find her teenage coworker who was a couple doors over. But he's not there, sadly. But his mom does answer the door. Katherine had left her baby at home, and she tells this mom, "Hey, I am so sorry. My baby's really sick. I need someone to take me to the hospital now. Can you please take me to the hospital? Something's really wrong with my baby." She's like, "Yeah, okay. Let me go get your kid. I'll meet you here. We're gonna drive to the hospital." So she starts packing up her own kids because she still has kids at home. So she's packing up her kids. Katherine leaves and then comes back with a knife, and no baby. So they're in the car, and then Katherine suddenly throws the knife basically in the window and says, "We're gonna go find my husband." Because that's her plan the entire time. She's left her baby at home.
Mm-hmm.
And this mom, panicking, is like, "No, we're not gonna go find your husband." So then she starts swinging wildly with the knife at this woman's children, her young children. At one point, when she's swiping at the kids, she does slice one of the kids' faces, just gently. One of the young girls, I think. And she starts looking around her yard for something. And it turns out she was looking for her gun, but her dad had removed the gun from the front yard days ago because he was worried that she was going to use it to kill her daughter. So it's like really happenstance that none of those kids died. All right, you know what? You're right. You're right. We're going to go find your husband. Why don't you get into the car? But first, we're going to have to go get gas. And Catherine's like, "That's a great idea. I'm glad that we're all on the same page. So we're going to go find my cheating husband because I'm going to kill him. And if you go get gas, I can go cash my check that I just got from the slaughterhouse today at the gas station."
Complete sound mind.
They go to the gas station, and as she's going to go cash her check, the entire family runs out of the car and into the gas station, locking themselves in the office. This pisses Katherine off. She is so mad. Not only has she just been abandoned by her husband, but she's asked these people very kindly, I might add, for help. And they just abandoned her also. So she goes, and this is where it gets pretty impressive, like in a scary way. In a show of incredible strength, she uses her bare hands to rip off the blades off the back of a trailer. These were oh my gosh, the grind blades. So these are used to cut down corn or hay or just any usual like grain. She used them so she could basically chop down the door. Rear blades can weigh anywhere from 300 to 500 pounds.
Gains.
She is a dangerous person.
That's
And
terrifying.
not be allowed anywhere near people,
Especially kids.
especially kids. She finally gets through the door and grabs one of the woman's young boys and holds him. The only reason she did not kill this poor boy is because the police arrived and disarmed her by smacking her with brooms, which is just a hilarious statement. Like, she's over
Of all
here
things.
holding a 500-pound item, and they're just here with brooms, like, no.
No, Chihuahua, no. Get off that person's leg.
Something about it's just like really funny to me.
Because it's ridiculous.
It is very ridiculous. Also, I feel much better. I'm gonna start disarming people with brooms and be like, no.
You stop doing that.
So they disarm her by smacking her with brooms. I'm unsure why this worked in her way, but it did. She was then admitted by police to the Morset Psychiatric Hospital with no charges against her.
Love that.
I'm unsure why no charges were pressed against her. I think there should have been some. I think even if the family didn't want to press charges, the police should have pressed charges on their behalf, but whatever. 70s. After this, she is found telling nurses that she's going to kill her husband and kill her husband's mom. She tells nurses that she intends to also kill the mechanic at the gas station who had repaired her husband's car, allowing her husband to run away from her. So she's entirely set on just killing anyone who helped him at all. Even these small connections that have nothing to do with them, she's gonna kill them because she blames them also.
It's Warpath, yeah.
Yeah, she's setting fire to everything. She also says that she's gonna arrive in the new city and kill her mother-in-law and all that stuff. Police told David, her husband at this time still, about the incident and about how she's threatening his life, his mother's life, the mechanic who fixed their car one time's life, and he instantaneously moved back to where they were living so he could support her again. He breaks up with his girlfriend, who I presume is not crazy, to move back with his crazy wife and support her on her journey to healing. Yeah. Yeah. He wanted to be with her again. Katherine was released August 9th of 1976 under the care of her husband and mother-in-law. So he moved his mother back with her also. Like, he's like, look, I'm just going to gather all the people you want to kill in one town.
Just make it easy.
So they all moved back to Woodridge, and she got a job at another meatpacking plant. Her family blamed David for Katherine's behavior and kept telling Katherine that David was bad for her, and they had to not be together more. Like, they're like, you need to break up with him. He's made you crazy.
You the problem? Knew the problem existed.
They're absolutely insane. I don't understand this family at all. You shouldn't understand. If you understand this family, I am so sorry. Run away. Run away very fast.
It's like 1 minute they're breaking the fourth wall and they're like, run. And then the other minute they're like, oh, we're fine. What are you talking about? Like, he's such a problem. That's crazy. She's perfect. That's so weird. That's our kid. Wow.
One time, David came to pick up Katherine from Barbara's house. Barbara ran out, yelling at David, reaching his car, and started strangling him through the window. So it's basically the driver's side window is down. She reaches in and starts strangling him and yelling at him and screaming like, you're not good enough for my daughter. Just leave already. You're not worth any of this. You shouldn't be here, blah, 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 blah. Katherine saw this, ran out, grabbed her mother's shoulder, spun her around, punched her so hard in the face that her mother immediately went down and didn't get back up. Like, she wasn't dead, but she, like, knocked her out.
Wonder whose side the mom is on now.
Still Katherine's. I don't know why, but still Katherine's. They all then moved back to Queensland and had another daughter together. Because, you know, that's healthy. In 1984, after more abuse, Katherine left David. After more abuse from Katherine, she leaves him. She moves back in with her parents and moved back to Aberdeen, where she got another job in the slaughterhouse. And then, reportedly by her, she intentionally got hurt and injured her back in the so that she could get disability. I don't know why she intentionally hurt herself. I think it's just like so it was more believable. Like, she could definitely win the money. But she admits it herself. Like, she did it on purpose. So
That's gross.
I think she did. She admitted probably that she did it on purpose after the fact, because I don't think they would give you money if you admitted it before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would just be fraud.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still fraud either way, but yeah, definitely fraud.
Yeah, a little different. So she went on disability and got a new place in Aberdeen. Later, David said about her, quote, "She is one of the most wonderful wives you could wish for. A perfect mother, perfect housewife. Sometimes she could just snap like a biscuit." No, she's not. She's not any of those things. She's should not be allowed near children or adult men.
Or society. Blink twice if you need help. Like,
She's so dangerous, and she's very, very manipulative. Like, she has this guy wrapped around her finger forever. So after she left her first husband, David, she met David Saunders, another David. He was a 38-year-old miner. All who knew him called him a gentle soul who loved dogs and could never hurt anyone. I am so sorry. This is the one that made you so sad last time.
I'm preparing for it again.
So, trigger warning, there will be animal abuse. I'll give another warning before it happens. So if you want to skip a couple minutes ahead, I would skip like 40 seconds. I'll remind you again once it gets closer. But she starts dating this guy. They met each other, moved in, and she moved in with her 2 daughters. Although he did keep his old apartment, and this drove Catherine insane with jealousy. She would often throw him out, and then she would run back over and beg him to move back in, which I think is the reason why he kept the apartment, is because she kept throwing him out. Like, there's no reason to get rid of it if you know that in a couple weeks you're not going to have a home.
It's the manipulation of it all that gets me, and also the very obvious pattern following. It's just, they're just like, this is fine. Nothing similar is happening again and again.
I don't get it, but that's what these guys just went with. From the books I've read and the few sites I visited, Catherine had a very specific way of getting men to come back in her lives, and it always revolved around sex. A lot of men said this is why they would stay around. Saunders would let her testify in court that Catherine did the worst thing that she ever could do to him in the May of 1987. They had an argument where she stormed outside, and he had waited a few seconds to let her calm down before realizing that his 8-week-old puppy was outside. He walked outside and made eye contact with her. This is when I'm going to recommend that you skip at minimum 30 seconds ahead if you do not want to hear a case of animal abuse. This is when she made eye contact with him and slit the throat of his dingo puppy. Just because she was mad. This was an example of what she could do to him if he ever left her, she said. She would knock him unconscious with a frying pan 3 seconds later. She does love her frying pans. At least she's consistent. She's nothing but consistent. If only anyone else would, like, recognize that she's consistent.
You're not, like, no, what? It's like a very easy, like, psychopathic pattern.
Yeah, it's very clear. I don't understand why no one caught it. So she hit him in the head with a frying pan only a couple seconds after killing his dog. Catherine even broke multiple of his ribs and once left a huge gash on his wrist that needed stitches. They had their 3rd child together. His first, her 3rd. She named the daughter Barbara after her mother. He finally left her after an argument where she had hit him in the face with a frying pan again and then stabbed him in the stomach with some scissors. He went to the house once more to grab clothes, and upon arrival, he saw that she had cut up all of his clothes and had taken all of his items to the dump. He then learned that she actually got a restraining order against him because she claimed to the police that he had battered her and that she was afraid for her and her children's lives.
Yeah, that's what
I
happened.
also don't understand why he didn't take the kids. He should have taken the kids.
That's the part that gets me really annoyed too, is because, like, you know that all this is happening and it's happening to you, so, like, you care about your kids at all. Like,
Because, like, she also hit the kids. Like, there's no way there's reports of her hitting the kids. She didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
Her parents hit her. Her parents would reportedly hit her with extension cords. Like, there's no way she's not also hitting her kids.
Absolutely.
So that's why these men don't deserve the abuse they're getting, but also they should have been better. They should have been better parents at the very, very least. So he left after being hit hit with a frying pan and stabbed. She got the restraining order because she lived in fear of her husband who was battering her. Katherine tried to find him, but no one would tell her where he was, thankfully. She wasn't just abusing the men in her life, she also was hurting her kids because, again, she's a monster. This is a story I heard from a podcast, the last podcast on the left, actually. Her daughter, Melissa, so that's her first child, was 12 when Katherine was talking to her friend in one room, and Melissa walked in and started in the middle of their conversation just talking to her mom. Because she's a child, she's going to interrupt you, and her mother said that she was, quote, being annoying. So her mom, of course, being a completely sane, rational person, walked over and slapped her kid in the face as hard as she could. She said that was because she had interrupted her conversation she was having with her friend and sent her back to her room. One night when Melissa was an adult and old enough to drink, I think she was 18, in Australia that's legal, I believe. She was at the pub with her friends, and her mother showed up, grabbed her by the hair, repeatedly hit her head on the table until she fell unconscious and slumping over, and then dragged her by her hair outside of the pub. No one stopped her. No one called the police. No one did anything. She didn't even call the pub for her daughter first. She didn't even say, like, hey, I need you home. She just hit her as hard as possible. The people at the bar were too scared to stand up to her or to stop the things she was did.
Single person, though?
Huh?
Every single person was? That's just so crazy to me. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, everyone was too scared to stop her. These days, Melissa fully supports her mother. All of her kids support her because they're completely brainwashed. And of course, back to the second David. After the restraining order was put in place on his children as well as his wife, he left and never returned. The next guy Katherine set her sights on was named John Chillingsworth. He was a 43-year-old former slaughterhouse co-worker. Within some weeks of meeting, she got pregnant because she gets pregnant with every guy she dates.
Mm-hmm. Not realistic.
Yeah. It's because she's only patterns. She's strictly patterns. She's very, very consistent. So after giving birth the following year of 1991 to her first son, Eric, she refused to allow Jones to move into her mother's house. Her mother had died at this point, so she inherited the house. The reason John was not allowed to move into the house is probably because of how she decorated it. That's police's theory currently, and my own theory at this point.
The knives.
She was a very, huh?
The knives. The knives would be a
Knives.
turnoff for me.
More than the knives. So she's a very, very skilled hunter, and this comes back later, as you know.
I do.
Yeah. So she liked the way she decorated her house. She was a very skilled hunter and liked to cover her house in animal skins, animal horns, skulls, rusty animal traps, old farm equipment, old rakes, leather things, old books, boots, and weapons. There was no books in her house. She could not read. Her house was covered floor to ceiling, every inch of every inch. A German psychiatrist said that the penchant she had for violent behavior and the desire to have dead things surrounding her in her house showed that she probably had necrophilius, not necrophilia. I know they sound similar, but they're different. Necrophilius do not want to have relations with dead people or dead things, but they do like to have ownership of dead people and dead things or power over their bodies. So she liked to have all the dead things surrounding her because it made her feel in control of her own life. So she couldn't let her boyfriend move in because then he would be too freaked out. It's too weird. John and Catherine's relationship lasted 3 years and was ended when she smashed his fake teeth into dust with a frying pan. She shouldn't be allowed to have cookware.
Be impressed if it's the same frying pan.
No, I assume it must be like I assume every frying pan like she has to get a new one every year because it just has the imprint of like.
You think she kept them for the head like dent shape?
There has to be like. we now meet John Price. I'm only going to go a little bit into this because soon enough we'll switch over to our original video, and then you'll see us from there. It'll be a completely different setup. It'll be nighttime, you'll notice. She then met John Price in a club. John Price was born 1955 in January. He was a father of 3 children who he had with his ex-wife, Colleen, who upon their separation in 1988 still had a very pleasant relationship. His youngest child lived with his ex-wife, but his 2 eldest children lived with him. Everyone described him as a terrific bloke, liked by everyone who knew him. Even his ex-wife during the divorce insisted that he keep the house that they had when they were married. She also said that he was one of the kindest and gentlest men out there, and he still was very much in love with his ex-wife. Although they never officially divorced, they were separated at the time of meeting Katherine. I don't know why they separated, but it was very clear for almost everyone that he still very much loved her. John knew Katherine as violent for her reputation, but thought that he could change her, like many men did. The start of the relationship was lovely, like always. Katherine was doing her best of making her good side be the prominent one, and of course was super excited that he was making a ton of money as a minor. They did have some very violent arguments, though. I couldn't find what they meant by violent. I don't know if they mean like
Physical
argumentative or frying pan. Like she has both sides. I'm not sure how fast the frying pan comes into relationships.
Wrong for that.
I mean, look, I don't know when it gets introduced. She's like, "This is my frying pan."
It's accurate though.
And I just want to know. I want to see the frying pans, honestly, at this point.
Is there a turning point? Did she hang those on the wall?
She must, because she's
But
not keeping their bodies around.
She seems like a trophy person. Like a trophy.
Very trophy person. Definitely. Gross. With their violent arguments, he constantly refused to marry her because 1, he's not divorced from his wife, 2, he doesn't really love her, and 3, he's still in love with his ex-wife, her separated wife. She was mad at this because he wouldn't marry her, so she couldn't have access to his money, and also it meant that he was rejecting her in some small way. Because of this, she did steal money from him and bought herself an engagement ring, which really pissed off his kids, because you can't do that. So like, although she had this engagement ring, he basically was like, "You can keep the ring, but we're not engaged," and she just kept telling people that they were about to get married.
That's so insane.
Yeah. In 1988, Katherine and John fought over his refusal to marry her again, and that John had put all of his money, his house, and all of his stuff in his kid's name rather than in Katherine's name in his will.
Not married.
Why would you get anything? Also, you're an adult and you have your own house and your own stuff. You don't need this man's things. In a videotape that they have, in retaliation for this, she videotaped items in his garden shed that she claimed was stolen from work, and had sent the tapes to his boss. So basically what happened is his work had thrown away all these med kits that had expired. They were band-aids and like things that actually can expire, but they have expiration dates on them because that's how healthcare systems work, and that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to get a new one just in case, like the medication goes bad.
Mm-hmm.
So he threw all of these away, and he saw that they threw them all away, so he went back and picked them up and took them home, and he put them in his garden shed. And then she videotaped these things and is like, "Oh, these are all stolen from his work, blah, 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 blah." Sent it to his boss, and he got fired. These were thrown away. I don't know about in Australia, but in the United States, when items are thrown away and on the curb, so any sidewalk, they become public property and anyone's allowed to take them. You're allowed to go through other people's garbage. He gets fired from a job he held for 17 years, and he lost his pension. The same day, he kicked Katherine out of his house, and the news of what she did spread everywhere. A few months later, John restarted the relationship with Katherine, but refused to allow her back into his house. So the fighting became even worse and even more frequent and violent. Because his friends started to refuse to be around him because they kept telling him, stay away from her, she's dangerous, she's not safe for you. And he didn't listen, they just stopped coming by. One of John's friends, his name was Trevor, was at their house and was talking to Catherine when Catherine said to him, quote, you'll never get me out of this house, I'll do you in first, meaning that she'll kill him. Catherine's brother Kenneth, 5 months before, said that she had said to him that she was going to kill Pricey, that was her name for John Price, and that she was going to get away with it because she'll make it out that she's, quote, mad. After one fight with Catherine, John ran into a neighbor's house saying, she's going to kill me with a butcher knife, so I had to get out of there. She did stab him in the chest with a knife, and it left a huge scar that had to be stitched up later. Why didn't he run away? I will never know. David Kellett, so that's her first husband, caught up with John Price when they discussed Catherine's erratic behavior. John said that he wanted to get out of the relationship but was too scared. David was later quoted as saying John was so scared that he was shaking when he was talking about leaving Catherine. Catherine was seen by all of her children as acting very weird. She went by her sister's house, Joy, to get a video camera that she had left there a few months before. She went to her daughter Natasha's house and recorded a video of her playing with Natasha's baby. While recording this, she looked at the camera and said, I love all of my children. I hope to see you all again. And that's where we can end this because I know that we go to the old podcast recording now.
Mm-hmm. And you'll see that here.
Creepy. Just creepy vibes.
That's really weird.
It's so weird. And she's, already, I don't think she's honestly, creepy looking, but knowing what she does, she makes me very unsettled.
It unsettles everybody around her, probably, too, because they know the behavior.
And she's super erratic. She goes through those, super manic periods and then super depressive. Just bad times. She recorded her playing with all of her children and grandchildren. Because remember, some of her kids are as young as her grandkids. Because she just kept having them.
Mm-hmm.
She also was doing really creepy stuff with her kids and grandkids. Like opening her shirt and letting the babies play with her chest on camera. Yeah.
I don't like that.
And you have to remember, her parents were actively, sexually assaulting each other in front of her and beating each other. So I don't know what that represents. You also have to, she was also molested by her siblings. So,
there's something there, but still,
I'm not sure if it's sexual or just, she doesn't think of it being sexual, but I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, on camera, she also made a lot of comments and tried to get her kids to go with them, saying things that were later interpreted as her will and testimony. She wanted to show how John wasn't good enough for her and how she was scared of him. Crazy. The guy who doesn't hurt anyone, who's super calm the entire time. The guy who, after she got him fired, was just all right, you gotta get out of my house. We're over. Not screaming, not fighting, not throwing things.
No legal activity, nothing.
She was covering all of her bases. She also was very out of character. She took her daughter Natasha out to a Chinese restaurant and said that she wanted to make it very special for her. Her kids clued on that something very weird was about to happen, as Catherine asked Natasha if she could leave her 2 youngest children with her daughter. So her 2 youngest kids are in primary school still, they're little. She's like, hey, can you take my kids? Granted, these kids don't have their school uniforms, because in Australia, all the schools have school uniforms that they have to wear, so they don't have their school uniforms with them. They don't have clothing for the next day. They don't have pajamas. They don't have toothbrushes. They don't have anything. So she's just you're going to take these kids. So everyone's kind of knows something's about to happen. And she, again, was just talking about how she's going to murder her boyfriend. Maybe someone should have clued in.
So no one had said or reported this to anybody? They're just oh, this feels weird. We'll see how it plays out.
Yep.
This is probably going to be fun.
Of course, because, this dangerous woman who keeps hitting men in the back of the head with frying pans, totally not going to murder someone.
No pattern.
No. Yeah, especially not after trying to murder her first kid.
Mm-mm.
She was making it look like John was going to hurt her. She made a lot of videotape testimony that, he's going to hurt me and I'm scared of him. Natasha said in her statement later...
So she was, fluffing evidence.
Yeah, she was fabricating everything because this shows that it's planned, which means it's not...
Premeditated.
Yeah, she's not crazy. She didn't do this in an act of rage or panic, or she wasn't suddenly
so she fucked
did something.
herself out of the plead for craziness, for insanity.
But just you wait.
Oh, just you wait. No, I think you'll like this.
Okay, I was like, don't disappoint me with another one.
Oh no, at the very end, she just like completely screws herself over, and it's great. Not nearly as good as some of her other cases, but like, I'm so glad she was done.
At least there's that.
I love it when criminals are stupid.
That most of them are.
Yeah, well.
At least the ones that have stories.
Yeah. So Natasha said in her statement later to police after the crime occurred, because of course you don't go to the police before. Not like we are worried about anything. Or she told her mom, quote, "I hope you're not going to kill Pricey and yourself." And then she left. Like, she's just like, "Hey mom, I hope you don't like do a murder-suicide attempt." Okay, bye, I'm going to take your 2 kids now.
What?
Yeah, like, this entire family's like not good. Like it's just
the whole family's fucked up.
Yeah, it's just generational trauma, like going down the line. It just gets worse. Nothing got better. No one like passed on the generational trauma.
Are any of these
and,
people still alive now?
Yeah, her kids are alive. She's alive. I believe. We'll get to that. If she's dead, it'll be in here. But I believe she's still alive.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. On February 29th, John went to the police and got a restraining order for himself and his children to keep Katherine away. Thank goodness someone finally goes to the restraining order before she can get one against them. That afternoon, he went to his new job, because remember, he had to get a new one. He told his coworkers that if he did not return the next day, it was because Katherine Knight had killed him. If you're telling people that someone's gonna murder you, like, call the police. Just call them, even if it's nothing, even if you're wrong. Call the police. I'd rather you waste taxpayers' money, like, trying to prevent something than like, oh, I think it's gonna be fine. I'm just gonna say this on the off chance.
I don't understand a situation where someone would be like, I won't contact authorities though.
A ton of people do it though.
That's just crazy.
It is.
Maybe
crazy.
it was a fear for his life thing if he did tell the authorities.
Maybe. I mean, she got arrested and was constantly put into a insane asylum and then signed herself out the same day or the next day.
So yeah. Maybe he thought if she made an advance and he reported it, nothing was going to happen.
And it might not have happened. Like,
so the system kind of failed him in that way.
The system failed every man she's been with since her first husband. She shouldn't. As soon as she was throwing her kid around by the ankles, she should never have been allowed to have her children again or leave the insane asylum. When she was attacking people in her hometown with an axe and threatening to murder her husband, her daughter, and her husband's mom, she shouldn't have been let out of her insane asylum. She should not have been allowed to sign herself out.
Imagine if she actually got treatment.
I think she would have been better for it. I think she needed desperately treatment because she was made more than she was born.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he told his coworkers that Katherine had killed him if he doesn't return. His coworkers pleaded for him not to return home, but John believed that if he didn't return home, Katherine would show up and hurt his children or kill them. He arrived home and Katherine was not there. She had sent his children to their mother's house. Like, she basically just sent the kids away and then left. Thinking that possibly they were done for good and he would be left alone, because she did leave her first husband alone eventually. He went and spent the evening at his neighbor's house before returning home later. That night, you might be wondering where she was. Well, she had spent the day gathering a bunch of things she needed. I'm so sorry, it's about to get a little gross.
Oh, of course it is.
Yeah. She stopped at a local thrift store to buy some black lingerie. I did not know you could buy used lingerie from a thrift store.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, we've also been to the bins, and, like, the bins are gross.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, maybe she went to the
Sometimes
bins.
you should go.
Bring gloves.
Bring gloves and hand sanitizer.
She also grabbed a couple of items she'll need, like her knives from her own house.
The ones that hung on the wall?
Yep.
Incredible.
Yep. She then returned to John's home where he was sleeping. She watched some TV, hung out, took a shower, and then worked John up.
So she could still get into his house?
Yeah, she had a key.
That's crazy. Why wouldn't she take that away?
So, because he's scared, I assume. So she watches some TV for a little bit, takes a shower, jumps into bed, tries to seduce him. All the classics.
Oh my god.
They do end up having sex. And when he fell back asleep, this is when she pulled out her butcher knives and stabbed him 37 times. So,
here's the thing. There's llamas with hats about this.
Stabbing someone with a butcher knife, like the butcher knife is that big choppy one. It's supposed to like just chop through. Stabbing someone with that takes a lot of effort. To stab someone with that 37 times.
Blunter on the edge too.
And she got through. Because remember, she's like incredibly strong. She ripped off the back part of a tractor to go break down a door. Like, she's incredibly strong. So it just went right through. So to stab someone about 37 times, granted, I'm not Katherine Knight, but I did try to see like how much effort it takes. It's like a good 3 minutes. Go fall all the way down and pull all the way back up. So it must have taken her longer.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. So yeah.
I'm assuming she's on top of him then, right? Because he's in a pinch.
Basically, she straddled over his hips and just stabs him. Because he's rolled over and he's trying to go back to sleep. Because he thinks like, okay, do whatever she wants, and then wake up in the morning, you can deal with it. According to the blood evidence, he woke up during this and scrambled to turn on the lights before giving up and running around the house to try to get away from her. So during the stabbing, he gets stabbed a whole bunch. He gets up, tries to turn on the light, can't, pushes her off, gets out of bed and tries to run.
But how do they know that detail?
Blood evidence, so you can see where he gets stabbed through the chest because there's a huge pool of blood on the bed sheets. There's pictures. I did not show them to you.
Yeah,
it's pretty
of course.
gross.
But so then
you
trailing,
and then you can see where he like grabbed his chest, tried to grab the lamp. You can see that he's faltering with the lamp, and then eventually it's assumed that he pushed her off because I don't think she willingly got off the lamp. So he pushed her off, and you can see where he gets up because a bunch of the blood that was on top of his chest falls down, so it hits the edge of the bed as well as the floor, and then you can see him running because all of the splatter drops when you're staying still makes these perfect circles. When you're running, it makes these harsh lines. The faster you run, the longer the lines are from where the blood is.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's intense. She chased him throughout the house, and he eventually reaches the front door. He opens the front door and gets out on the first step. He is minutes away from freedom, minutes away from being able to scream and get help. We were able to know that he was on the front step by the blood left on the doorknob, as well as the puddle of blood on the front step. The reason there's a puddle of blood is because before he could get to freedom, Katherine had reached out and dragged him back into the house.
That's crazy.
During this, she was still stabbing him throughout the entire thing. You can see where he gets stabbed again while they're running, because there's these harsh lines of the blade obviously getting into him and then being pulled out, because then there's a spray on the walls. So he's stabbed a ton throughout this.
That's crazy that he was like still functioning even halfway.
I think it's just the amount of adrenaline. Like, his body knew something was going to happen, and it was just,
It's like, my brain's alive, let's keep doing it.
Yeah. I mean, if you think you're going to die, you just keep going. Your body just, sadly or thankfully, keeps going. Matters. There was so much blood throughout the house. There's even a pool of blood that measured 3 feet by 6 feet.
That's fucking insane.
Yeah. By the time police arrived the next day...
The next day?
So by the time the police arrived the next day, specifically like closer to the morning, so somewhere around, they said anywhere from 6 to 8 a.m. So that's like kind of morning-ish. No, that is morning. Sorry.
I have the worst. Feel bad
report.
about this at all because they didn't report anything about the weird behavior of the mom.
They're shitty people.
That's so upsetting.
When the police arrived the next morning, the blood was not even congealed. There was so much blood. It was wet to the touch. So they didn't know what time he died originally because they couldn't figure out. And then they were able to look at the pools of blood at the beginning, at the start of the crime, and they're like, "Oh no, this happened a long time ago." And then they talked to Katherine, and then she's like, "No, this started a long time ago." Yeah, it was so much blood. Like, even if he had gotten away, he was not going to survive. Yeah.
That's insane.
John's autopsy showed stab wounds on his front and back that hit several organs. He was stabbed in both the lungs, the stomach, the aorta, his left kidney, his colon, liver, and pancreas. So that's a bunch of your internal organs.
Everything.
He was a dead man walking. He was never going to survive this. After this, she then showered. So she kills him, leaves him on the floor. She goes showers. She stole his ATM card, which is what really screwed her over. Because it showed that she had enough forethought, like, I'm gonna take this ATM card and I'm gonna spend money. If you're crazy and you lost your mind for a second, you're not gonna be thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
She went to a nearby town and withdrew $1,000 from his bank account. This showed that after he had died, Katherine had enough wherewithal to know his bank account, to drive to another town, which means that she knew that there was guilt or that like she should have done something, and knew his PIN code to get the money out. When returning home, several hours later, Katherine ended up skinning John's whole body in one piece. So remember, she's a great hunter, and she likes to hold on to dead things, and she would skin dead things. She skinned John, and she did it well.
That was a twist I did not see coming.
Yeah.
That was a twist I did not see coming. What the fuck?
Yeah, so she skins him. I don't
What
know if you know how.
fuck?
I don't know if you know how much energy and time it takes to skin a thing. It takes a lot. I watched a couple YouTube
In
videos.
one piece?
One piece. The entire body.
She zippered him. That's crazy. Oh my god.
So normally when you skin like a bigger animal, you don't skin them in one piece. When you skin like deers, they'll usually go around the legs. If they take the legs, they'll take only the first two. And then they'll cut around the stomach so it's two pieces because it makes it easier. She did one full piece. She made a man suit.
This is what they did in Men in Black.
This is what they did in the Silence of the Lambs.
Ah, it's Buffalo Bill!
So, skinning him in one piece. Skinning him in one piece included his face, ears, scalp, and neck. It was an entire suit. She could do this because she had done this with many animals several times. And before she knew what she was doing, she used various types of knives and tools. She only left one small square of skin attached to his body. It was the square of skin that had the scar from when she first stabbed him. Like months ago when she stabbed him the very first time and it healed because he didn't die. She left that one piece on his body as like, that's how you know it's him. Because there's a medical record of him getting it stitched up, so they would have been able to identify him from that if like they weren't able to identify it in another way. Yeah, she's just a monster.
My stomach's sick.
Uh-huh. I'm sorry, we ate before this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm feeling that. I'm feeling the food.
In his post-mortem examination, they were able to reattach the skin to his body. That shows like how well she was able to do this. Like to reattach skin is hard, especially onto flesh.
Wait, why are you Why? Why?
Because you want to bury the body intact. Like you don't have to it tends to bring people comfort when if a family member is deceased to have them at least in one piece. Like they weren't going to do like an open casket, but it's nice to know like she took off her skin, but they put it back.
Oh.
It's just a form of comfort for people.
Okay, yeah.
But since she was able to skin him really well, it was fairly easy to attach him again because they knew exactly where everything was supposed to go. I know, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
She also hung up the skin on a hook at the entrance of the house. So
That's
the police
fucking
found
crazy.
it.
That's fucking crazy. You're like, you ain't seen nothing yet. You're like, you know the story, and you're like, no, wait till she hears about the hanging in the doorway.
Originally, police didn't know what it was, and when they first arrived at the scene, but soon recognized a face, and recognized that it was the face of John Price, and that's how they figured it out. So after skinning him and hanging his skin, she then decapitated Price and placed his head on a pot on the stove with vegetables to make a broth.
Okay.
She does not eat him. No one eats him, I will say.
I was like, at least there's that.
She then sliced up parts of his buttocks and cooled them, serving them with a side of baked potato, pumpkin, beetroot, zucchini, cabbage, yellow squash, and a special gravy made of his head. Despite it being the morning, she set up 2 full plates of his meat and body, as well as the stew she made from the head and the gravy. Each plate had a note card, as well as notes that had never been released. So she made little placement cards and little notes. The notes were addressed to his 2 eldest children, who were expected to arrive home shortly. She was preparing to serve them their father's flesh. She also had a photo of John and a note placed in the middle of the table, which reads, and I'm sorry, so I'm going to read it in a very specific way. A lot of it's misspelled, because remember, she has no formal education. She basically dropped out before middle school, so she's there's some parts of it that's not going to make a lot of sense, but I couldn't really read it, but this is what I believe she was trying to write. Yeah, I read the thing multiple times, and luckily I'm also dyslexic, so I was like, okay, so I read it phonetically, and I think I know what she's trying to say. And based upon what other people have reported, this is what we think she's trying to say. So, quote, "Time got you back, Jonathan, for rapping." I think she means raping. "My daughter, you to Beck," which is one of John's children. So she's accusing him of raping 2 people. "For Ross, for little John," which is his son. "Now playing with little John's dick, John Price." Like, none of it makes sense, but it's basically trying to accuse him of hurting the children, which I think is like, she might have thought like, oh, in case they don't think I'm crazy, here's another excuse of why I did it. But also, she like cannot spell for the life of her. It's crazy looking. Her like, she spelled daughter Doeter. Doter. So these accusations of assault were found to be lies by the police. They asked everyone. They asked her kids, and her kids were even like, no, John didn't do anything. Because her kids were, like, they weren't, she didn't even accuse him of hurting her little kids. She accused him of hurting her older kids who didn't live with her. A 3rd piece of meat was found on the lawn. Presumably, Katherine had tried giving it to the dogs, but they just refused to eat it. John's head was found simmering in a pot with vegetables. The pot was still warm when the police found it. Luckily, the police went to the place before the kids did, so his children did not see this and did not eat the food, which is why no one's eating. Hi. At some point during the day, Katherine had posted the body, flayed and headless, in an armchair, with the left arm draped over the empty 2-liter soft drink bottle and his legs crossed. So she posed him after the fact, which is a weird thing with serial killers. It's usually a
No flesh?
No flesh. No
Incredible.
head. No skin. So she posed him with his arm, like, draped over a 2-liter bottle and his legs crossed. Police claimed in court that this showed that defilement of the body, meaning that it showed how much that she hated John Price because she skinned him, decapitated him, placed him on a chair. At 6 a.m. in the morning, after Katherine had killed John, a neighbor became concerned that John's car was still in the driveway, and when he did not arrive at work, his new boss sent a coworker to stop by John's house to see what was going on. Because remember, he told his coworkers, hey, if I don't come back, Katherine killed me. Both of these people tried knocking on the door and tried looking into the windows, and they saw blood. The blood on the first step. So, like, they knew something happened, and they called the police. So they didn't even see the body, luckily. Only the police did. So only the police were traumatized. And people in court. So after seeing the blood on the front door, they called the police. Police arrived at 8 a.m. So remember, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. 8 a.m., the blood is still wet. They broke down the back door to find the crime scene and Katherine comatose in bed after taking a large amount of pills. I don't think she was actually trying to kill herself. I think she was staging it so that people would feel bad for her. Because, I mean, it takes a lot of pills, and she took like a large amount, but not nearly enough to kill her. Katherine's first plea was to manslaughter, the crime of killing a human being without malice afterthought, or otherwise a circumstance of not amounting to murder. So basically, she killed him but didn't think about it. Bullshit. She thought about it. She planned it. She knew what she was doing. She knew what she was
Everybody
doing before
in
and
town
after.
knows what she's doing.
Exactly.
Like, are you joking?
But after this was rejected by the courts, she was arraigned on March 2nd, 2001.
Jesus fucking Christ.
On the charges of murdering John Price. She pleaded not guilty. But when the trial started, Justice Barry O'Keefe offered all the members of the jury that they could be excused themselves from the trial due to how graphic the crime scene photos were. They were like, hey, if you can't handle this, you should go. We'll get someone else to replace you. Like, it's really intense. I only saw, like, a few, and I, like, sometimes get haunted by them. 5 out of the 60 members took that offer and left. I'm surprised it was not more. I would have been like, yeah, I can't. Sorry, gotta go.
Peace out.
When the witnesses list started, several more people started dropping out. Like, as soon as they saw who was being called, they're like, we can't.
Because there's children. She has, like, little kids. The trial ended up having to be redone as Katherine lawyers talked with the judge asking to start the trial over the next day due to how chaotic it had become that day because so many jury members left at the beginning and then they left during the case. They couldn't handle it. It was later released by the Justice O'Keefe and advised that the plea change to be done to prevent a trial. So he basically told her, like, hey, if you just plead guilty, we don't have to do this trial, and that will save everyone time and energy. To ensure that knew that she was the guilty plea meant that she could blah, 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 blah. After the trial was adjourned, the justice sent Katherine for a psych eval to ensure that she understood what a guilty plea meant and that she was still fit to make the plea, because you can't make the plea if you're not a capable mind to understand the right versus wrong. Her lawyer's plan to get her out of this, but out of serving time, was to state that Katherine had amnesia and was dissociated at the time of the murder. Bullshit. Sadly for them,
Please don't tell me that worked.
Sadly for them, 2 psychiatrists showed that she was sane, and this is when she was diagnosed with BPD for the first time. Forensic psychiatrist Robert Delaforce said he wanted to, quote, make it very clear what she did on that day, or on that night, was part of her personality, her nature herself, but it was not a feature of borderline personality disorder. It was not even slightly connected. Because he wanted to make a huge point that it wasn't her mental illness that made her act this way. It's her herself. It was her own fault.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, this is a time where, like, it's the early 2000s. People are not super accepting and are very quick to blame, like, oh, you have something wrong with you, and you did the shitty thing. You did the shitty thing because you have something wrong with you. If someone else matches that, you are also guilty of that shitty thing. Fun. She's never really said why she changed her plea deal, because she did plead guilty eventually. So they didn't have to do a trial.
Cornered. She had nothing else.
I mean, she could technically go through a trial, but it was just going to take longer. And she would just sit in jail. Or she could just be convicted and be done. But despite giving it, she still states that she is innocent, even though she's pleaded guilty. She says she's innocent. Bullshit. During her sentencing, her lawyers asked that she may be excused to avoid hearing some of the terrible facts of the crime. Because, you know, she's such a sensitive lady who brutally murdered this man.
It's not even just murder at that point. Like,
No,
it's so much more.
She
disfigured him.
a body.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a different crime. Or at least in the States it is. Because remember, Australia. Down under. She's the one who did this, so I don't understand why they thought she would be excused of it. The court refused to excuse her. The judge said, no way. Forensic pathologist Dr. Tim Lyons, so that's one of the other psychologists she had to see, said that there was no marks on John's bones, meaning that she was so careful with killing him and skinning him that there was no way she was insane when doing this. In regards to skinning, he said it probably took her about 30 minutes to an hour. This proved that her decisions were not impulsive, but a well-thought-out plan. When Dr. Lyons took the stand to talk about the skinning and decapitation, Katherine had become hysterical, rocking back and forth in her chair, clicking her teeth loudly, kicking the partition, and screaming, no, no, no. Because she's trying to act crazy to get out of it. She had to be removed and sedated because of this. Yeah.
She doesn't deserve sedation.
On November 8th, Justice O'Keefe, so that's the judge still, pointed out that her lack of remorse and how severe the crime was means that she deserved the most severe punishment and sentencing. So he sentenced her to life in prison and refused to fix a non-parole period. So normally in Australia, no matter what crime you do, you have a parole period where you're able to plea to try and get out.
That's crazy.
This was early 2000s stuff.
It's so crazy.
Yeah. She was the first woman in Australian history to not get a parole date ever. She could never apply for parole. She's stuck and live in prison for life, and there's no chance of her getting out.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that resolution.
She has paperwork that is marked, quote, never to be released. So no matter what, she can't be released. Even if there's like an error or they have overpopulation or overcrowding, she's not the one that will go. This makes her the first woman in Aussie history to get this charge. Several police officers and members of the court had to take time off work after this case due to how gruesome the case was. In June of 2006, she repealed her life sentence. We have a pig in our midst. What are you doing?
He's reverse sneezing.
Oh.
He has asthma.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just a baby. So she repealed her life sentence, saying that she thinks that she didn't deserve it because of one reason or another. She said that life in prison without the possibility of parole was too severe for, killing a man. And
Skinning him and cooking
him and trying to serve him to his children and decapitating him
cooking his head.
and several parts of his body.
And feeding his body to the dogs.
Making it so gross that people had to take months off work before they were able to come back.
Yeah.
The courts dismissed her appeal in September of the same year. And one of the judges wrote in her case file, quote, "It was an appalling crime, almost beyond contemplation of civilized society." Basically saying she's too far never to be welcome back. John's Price brother was there for the court case, and hearing what she had done to his brother and what she claimed her brother was doing to her and her children broke him entirely. Sadly, soon after Catherine's sentencing, he took his own life.
Oh.
She still is in prison and is known to rule the prison. She's also known as the prison Nana. Like, people in prison love her. She's known as a peacemaker there. Like, if someone's there and, fights, she'll make you guys, break it up, and then she'll make you sit down and talk about it. Like, she's weirder. I think she's also probably on medication now, though.
Probably.
Because she's BPD, and they tested her, and, they're confirmed. There's no way she's not on medication there, which might explain why she's, calmer now and able to be somewhat reasonable, but she should never be allowed outside, because if you let her outside, she's going to stop taking that medication. I also think that probably she's a peacemaker there because there's no men for her to terrorize and hurt in this prison, because she has no real qualms against women. I mean, the only woman she hurt was her own kid, and that was just hurt her husband. So I think the medication and lack of men has made it so that she can be a functioning human. The same way that when you put a rapist in prison, he stops raping people because there's no women for him to terrorize, if he's specifically terrorizing women. So yeah, that is the story of Katherine Knight. Fuck her.
I hated it.
Someday she'll die. Someday might be sooner
How
rather
old
than
is
later.
she now?
She's pretty old. She's in her 80s, I believe.